out.
Woo!
GP and that's 2 from the McCrizzle. That leaves just Zarya and Moira alive on point, and that's gonna be a Shadow Bringing.
Oh my god, what a sleep! What a sleep!
These are brings Jag to the ground.
He's looking for it, he's gonna find something, but he's gonna be immediately shielded. Massive play from Overkill there. Sniper Life is gonna find that beat or lamp, however, and the huge bomb is gonna find 4! Oh my god, Sniper Life! Huge play!
It's fair. I have to admit it here on stream. I actually am wrong. The wiki says that it's an Omnic Director.
Boom! Told ya! In your face. What's up? Anyway.
Still has that shatter! Dragon Strike coming in from KBC gets the quad! As Obi-Wan getting a double, Bloody Chan following up on Ikkyo as the shatter comes in. Obi-Wan still having that Meteor Strike available as they take down KBC, looking to follow up onto Bravery, who was swapped over to the Ham, and Psychon now coming in as Lucio trying to hold on, trying to get that beat. They have 10 seconds to touch that payload.
Oh no, and Twitchy's gotta be careful. You don't want to just get in there. Oh, that's gonna be the end of Twitchy there. Oh, great job by Shibiki keeping the rest of the team alive. So here we go. It's gonna be the final battle, and Zenkai has got to do something to make this work. Sway drops that ultimate, but the ultimates come out in favor of the Horn Beast. That's gonna be the Horn Beast.
Speed drop coming in from Sassafras, and the Diva Bomb coming down from Game Reaper.
Oh my god!
What? Where? What?
Oh my god, the Hoikum picks up Berkey and Neptune picks up Sassafras. It looks like this actually might be all over here for Eclipse.
On to something. Prim, they've got to be careful with Prim, who's coming up behind on the enemy team. There goes 6C. Oh, is that going to... That's going to be a huge one, boys. That's going to be what finishes this particular game. This picking up yet another one. Stopping it. And that's Yaya taking this one home. Oh, and that's a big feels bad. McDean, though, able to stay alive. Oh, but it could be dangerous territory. That's a 1-1 pick here on both sides. But McDean's got to be careful not to get taken out. Dank Monkey still on that Lucio, able to keep him alive. Oh, and that dive composition might not be coming in the best. Dank Monkey.
Widowfigure will find Mosaic here. High charge Zarya, getting tons of work in at the moment. And Widow just has to back up right now, but she's just going to fall to KBC, the absolute terror! Russian Fury pushing forward.
Who's here for Bagel Guy, who's out, hungry, but dead! Oh, and that is a wasted ultimate if I've ever seen one. Oh my god, and there we go! What is this nonsense?
Nah, John Hawks is on my side. Big bully.
Say that real slow.
Big bully.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. Hopefully, I mean, I don't want Budget Goblins to take them lightly. I hope they don't pick any meme comps. I hope they don't just try and do anything cheesy just because I know they're higher. I expect hopefully a good meta battle. Probably, I think the double shield meta is strong right now, but maybe someone will break something out. Yeah, like you said, there is a lot of high ground left of shields. Maybe someone will bring out a Junkrat or a Pharah just to do some extra damage against them. So hopefully, Calamity knows this and has a strong pattern going against them.
Yeah, looking at Tier 1, looking into the Overwatch League, we've seen a lot of, there's been a lot of, like, Hammond, a lot of Wrecking Ball. There's just been a bunch of different comps going around, but, so it does look like that we were right on the side of Budget Goblins. We do have the Orisa Sigma, but for the side of Blackwatch up, we do have the Orisa Sigma, and it looks like we have almost a mirror match, except for the supports. We have a Mercy Ana for the side of Budget Goblins, and we have a Brigitte and the BAP for Calamity there.
Yeah, it should be very interesting to watch, who has the better meta pick fighting in this first fight.
Yeah. Alright, we see the shield war coming in, and it does look like Budget Goblins being a little more aggressive here. These the halt into the dash combo for Kawushi Senpai is very powerful, and it's coordinated well. And Kroski already has that ultimate, and Ares is able to pick off Absolute Salt, but it is res, and that Mercy pick. But it looks like on the side of Calamity, we're having the pick coming in.
Yeah, it looks like
incredible from Kroski to charge ultimate that fast. Absolute Salt being caught out a little late there.
I definitely think that was a deal breaker in that first fight. I think using Window so very quickly was very crucial. I mean, Camel's going to come in with bongos. You're going to have Blade. You're going to have Bob. You're going to have Valkyrie coming on the side of Goblins. So you're going to have to watch out. You really only have Blade and Rally. So, I mean, you got to be careful if you're Calamity with this.
Blade coming in under Gentle Touch, and the Valkyrie comes out immediately. Absolute Salt taking it off angle, throwing in the Bob, and that is a very powerful Bob on the point. It takes out the huge lift on the side, and another lift. Both sides getting lifted up, and a very Jag going very low. But he does look like he's going to get healed. And a bunch of picks coming in for Calamity, showing that they are not to be played with. They are able to take team fights, and they're able to win in the neutral and with ults, even a little bit down against this Budget Goblins squad.
Yeah, I think Calamity played it smart. They use their ults well. You have to be careful going into this with Kushi Senpai and Witchbay with that Nano Blade combo. Switching to the Rhine is a smart move. It's going to be kind of a more brawly style, and I think they're going to put a lot of pressure on him. Yeah. That Nano Blade should be worried.
A lot of pressure coming in onto Budget Goblins. And it does look like they're going to be taking high ground. It's an interesting choice since they went to the Rhine, but since we were thinking about the brawl, but there goes the Nano Blade. Immortality comes out, but it finds three, I think. And that is just a team wipe for Budget Goblins. And there's really not a lot that could have been done on the side of Calamity. There's just Nano Blade is just a very powerful combination of ultimates. And now it's going to be an uphill battle for Calamity to come back. But they are in one-fight territory here.
Yeah, I think Calamity tried to Bongo Blade to counter, but Nano Blade is such a much stronger combo to that, so I think that was kind of their loss. They're building ults, but it's going to be a battle moving forward.
Yeah. Oh, Kushi Senpai finds Jag the Nerd before the Immortality field comes out, and that's a huge anti-nade onto Gentle Touch. They are able to survive due to the Immortality. Absolute Assault finds music. Senpai goes down there.
Yeah, and I think the Immortality there was key. I think that keeps him pushbacks, it keeps him moving on to the next fight. You're going to have Rally, you're going to have Window, you're going to have Blade coming in. You lose your other DPS ult and Bob, but I think Calamity has a good ult combination coming into it. You got to be wary of the Shatter. You don't have a ton of blocks, so you have to be smart with your shields. And you have Gravitic Flux with Jigglyworm, so I think that the 2 tank ults are going to be key to watch out for in the next fight.
Yeah. But Kushi Senpai very, very close to that Blade, and that Nano Blade combo that might come in. The Blade comes in. He does get nanoed, and he does find 3 picks for it. And I think he's going to also find Crazy. He's going to find Crazy.
Yeah, I think Kushi Senpai, that Nano Blade combo is deadly. If you're going to watch out for it, you got to get rid of Witch Bait early on in those fights, because without it, it's going to be deadly.
There's that, and there's a big shatter from Camo. They do get onto the point, so there's going to be an overtime coming in here, and it's going to go into this fight. But 2 picks on the side of Budget Goblins there, and there's just some cleanup from Budget Goblins, and that will be round 1. No one else is going to touch, and that will be round 1 for Budget Goblins. This is a lot closer than you would expect from a Diamond team versus a Masters team, but this is going to be a good match. I can already feel it.
Yeah, I think right there you have to see that it was 81% on the side of Calamity, and I think moving forward, Calamity has to build some confidence. They understand how they want to play it. I think Budget Goblins got their stride. That Nano Blade is such a strong combo, especially with how strong Genji is right now in the meta. I mean, I don't exactly know how you counter it. You already have Crispin on the route with Brig. You're bringing in maybe a Mercy. You're trying to figure something out. And I think Calamity's going to figure it out moving to this next series of fights. But it's going to be a strong match. I don't think Calamity's out of it yet. I think, you know, it's obviously coming down to some minor mistakes here and there, but I think that they have it in their bag to put up a fight against Budget Goblins going into this next Oasis point.
Yeah. And on the side of Budget Goblins, we do see the Hammond, the Wrecking Ball Winston combo, and that is a very powerful combination with Winston's jump hack and Hammond's pile driver. Can almost completely melt the squishy, and already Jag is out of mech with that focus beam from Absolute Assault, which can also just melt a target under half health. Oh, but Witchbait finds Jag in the Pilot Diva form, and a bunch of picks coming in for Budget Goblins. Ares finds Kushi Senpai, but it does not. It gets rezzed immediately, and ooh, that is a very unfortunate stagger. And they're going to be able to charge a lot of percentage off of that.
Yeah, I think Calamity's trying to go off with something, switch it up here, trying to build that Nano Blade all, and they're going to be pretty close, but I mean, you already have 2 support ults on the side of Budget Goblins. You're building up that Blade. I mean, they're building up something crazy, especially with Echo ult. I mean, anything could be done, especially you have to watch out for Jigglyworm on that Hammond. It's deadly.
It is very deadly, but he gets slept and bionated. Both the tanks bionated. He just goes down immediately with no healing to help him. The blade comes in from Kushi Senpai, gets nanoed as well, but it doesn't look like he's finding anything. The res does come in onto Jigglyworm, but they're still down. But Kushi Senpai gets bionated, and Witchbait goes down. And there's only 1 healer on the side of Budget Goblins. Oh, but as soon as I say that, there's 1 healer for the side, and it's just gonna be a very sloppy, a very, very close fight here. But it looks like Calamity might be pulling away with it. The bomb comes out to find anything. And it's a scrappy fight on point. Not able to clean up, and Kushi Senpai is so low here. He's at so low. And the clone coming in on the Diva. Krosky goes down. That's a big pick for Jigglyworm. Jigglyworm finding 2. And Absolute Assault goes down without able to find the pick onto Crazy, and that does look like a fight win for Budget Geniuses. For Budget Goblins, right?
Budget Goblins. I mean, it's a dogfight. A lot of ults there. A lot of ults been used. You have Bob coming into it, but you gotta get the point fast. I mean, you have to worry about the Blade coming in by Kushi Senpai.
There's just 2. Both supports going down as they try to approach the point. Zero goes down. Bob doing a bunch of work, and he actually does get moved onto the point to stall out a little bit. Jag getting knocked out of the mech there. It's up to Crispin to keep touching and to keep this point alive. He does, using Lucio's wall raid to his advantage. He's able to avoid a lot. Enough for Crazy to come back with the blade, but it's not enough. He isn't able to touch point, and Budget Goblins are going to take map 1.
Yeah, I think what you saw right there is Budget Goblins just using their strategies. They're a strong team. I mean, Kushi Senpai is a deadly Genji, constantly with the Nano Blades. I mean, when there's a Nano Blade, Kushi Senpai is getting at least 3, so it's hard to counter against that. You have to find a way to do it.
Yeah, and just in this play of the game, so much damage coming in, even though he doesn't get all the kill credit. You can see at the bottom that the amount of damage that he gets onto these tanks and onto those supports completely turns the fight.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. What would you going into this, next map here, which is going to be Numbani? What do you think that they're going to try and pull out and figure out how to counter against that Nano Blade?
I think that a lot of these teams that have found success in countering Genji, they've done it by CC, they've done it by an Orisa Halt, by a Sigma Rock, and just using all of those cooldowns along with like a Brigitte Shield Bash, and basically just not allowing the Genji to move and even get close to anyone on the team, and just completely negating that Nano Blade. It's high risk, high reward, because if they're able to negate the Nano Blade, those are two very big ultimates that they've countered. But if they're not able to do it, it either creates an incredible amount of space for the team that's using the Nano Blade, or it leads to, as we saw, 2, 3, even 4 kills, and it's a very hard ultimate to counter.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to do. You have to find a way. You have to basically have someone essentially just be, their job is to counter the Nano Blade as soon as you possibly can once you see it go off, because if you don't, it's going to be bad. And I think moving forward, I think that, the meta picks are going to come out. I mean, do you expect them to either switch anything up? I know that they kind of played Budget Goblin didn't quite play the meta, but I think that, they played something else. But do you think moving on to this next map type that they'll, play something a little bit different? Or are they going to stick with the double shield bunker style meta?
I think that the double shield bunker meta it's meta for a reason, and I do think that there's a lot of power in this double shield with the Ashe, especially. We saw the Mercy Pocket coming out at times from Calamity, which is very powerful, because one headshot from that boosted Ashe, from an Ashe that's being damage boosted by a Mercy, and one headshot scoped will instantly delete a support, or any switch really, from the game. And it's a very powerful combination that has to be countered. And so far, Budget Goblins have done a pretty good job at taking them down. So,
yeah, Calamity's got to figure something out. It's hard because, Calamity's being lower division. I think it's just minor details that are coming through. And I think that's kind of the biggest difference is Budget Goblin is very polished and they kind of know what they're doing. They have a little bit more experience in certain weird situations. So I think that Calamity just has to be very tight in their gameplay going on to Numbani, going on to this map style, and I think that they should be doing just fine.
Yeah. But I do think that in Numbani, it's very hard that setting up on the defense first point, there's a lot of high ground that can be taken advantage of, and there's a lot of different strategies that can be played.
Yeah, I expect there still to be I expect Kushi Senpai to stay on that Genji. They're just too deadly on it.
Oh, definitely.
Absolute Assault switched from Echo. They played the Ashe. I expect an Ashe just because of the high ground, maybe a Widow just to get a couple early picks on. There's a lot of other entrances for Calamity to go on, and I expect them to maybe change something up, maybe do something they're not used to. So it should be interesting to see what they kind of bring out in this. Attacking is always hard on these map style types, so you have to kind of maybe do something out of the ordinary to move forward.
All right, so on the side of Budget Goblins, we see a comp very reminiscent of Dive. We have the Winston Diva tank line, the Tracer, and Kushi Senpai going onto the Tracer, not staying on the Genji there. Normally in a dive comp like this, you would see Tracer Genji, but we have the Tracer Ashe, and we have the Mercy Moira healing combo.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think Absolute Assault is just so comfortable on the Ashe and sticking to the high ground. If Kushi Senpai can play Tracer as well as they can play Genji, I expect nothing less to just be a havoc just to get in the back line. And looking at Calamity, they're going to be running that very double shield, push forward. The Ryan's going to be nice to kind of be a little bit more brawly, but against the Dive, we'll have to see.
Yeah.
But, the Brig will be there nice to deal with the Tracer, and moving around going up to this top is smart to do, especially against the Dive.
Yeah, especially with the brawly kind of comp that they're running with the Genji and with the Brig as well. Fairy Ball comp, and that's a very big dynamite from Absolute Salt. Gets a lot of charge. Crazy goes down from Absolute Salt. And it does seem like Calamity is still pushing in, but the pick on the Jag is going to have to force them to go back, and they're going to get traced through this hallway, and maybe even farther. Fushi Senpai does get stunned, but and now it's very interesting because their respawns have come back, and Budget Goblin's very smart, does push back once they realize that those respawns have come back on the side of Calamity, and they're able to not get caught out pushing too far.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be worrisome. You have the window from Krosky, and oh, the bomb.
The bomb comes out, and they do have to use the immortality for it. They're not close on any of their ultimates yet, but they got both support ults used simultaneously. There's a lot of ultimates being used on the point right now. This big Crispin here is kind of alone. It does get taken out. That was a very split up fight. I think that Crispin's Brigitte got pushed off of wherever they were, and oh, that's a brutal stagger coming in from Budget Goblins. Oh, it's so much time coming off, and so much more ultimate charge for them.
I mean, on the side of Calamity, you're gonna have 5 ults going to this next fight, so you have to use them. You have to use them wisely. You might just have to walk in and press Q. I mean, you really don't have to deal with Bob, but you can't get staggered like that. If you keep getting backed up like that, all of your ults are not going to be useful. You have to combo them. Maybe do you have the Gravitic Flux, you have the Shatter, you have all your DPS ults. You don't have Rally to engage, but I mean, other than that, you have everything you could possibly want.
The Bob comes in, it's blocked in the doorway, so it's not going to provide as much value. The Shatter comes in, catches both tanks, and they both immediately get deleted for it. Ammo gets res, but they're still down their Diva, and that's a very important ability gone with that defense matrix. The Bob comes onto the point. That's the only ult that Budget Goblins have, except for the Valkyrie that then comes out. Groove does get stunned though, and that's the pick on the Witch Bait, and all the picks are coming in. Jiggly Worm does decide to use the bomb though, and does get the pick onto Crispin in the pilot form, and that's 2 picks coming in on the side of Budget Goblins. The Pulse Bomb comes in, catches Krosky, and that is Budget Goblins pulling victory from the jaws of defeat.
I think Budget Goblins just kept fighting. They knew, even when they were down, they kept fighting, they kept distracting. They knew what they had to do. I mean, that pick off from Ares getting to Absolute Soul is huge moving to this if you can capitalize on it. You're going to have Blade, you're going to have Gravitic Flux, you're going to have Shatter again, you're going to have Window. You have to capitalize while you still can on these next fights. You're going against, really only against Beam from Moira, so I mean, I think it's possible to get an advantage early on.
Gravitic Flux comes in, Blade also comes in on the lower, on those people that got lifted up. That's just Guru. Man, we're coming a little hard today.
No worries.
That is all the picks coming in for Calamity, and they're going to, just in overtime, capture this point and getting 2.5 minutes to come back. They're not going to catch any of the people who were short spawned, which is very lucky for Budget Goblins, because that is a very big danger in these kinds of maps, is that if you get spawned at the spawn for point A when the rest of your team is spawned at point B, you could get caught by the entirety of the other team and staggered out, and that's how snowballs happen.
Yeah, I think it was smart for them to, I think it was looking for them to not get caught out right there, but the ult coming in from Camo is going to be picking off Kristen just to give him away.
Catches 2 though, Kushi Senpai and Jiggly Worm. Kushi Senpai immediately going down, but Ares gets caught up by that ult you mentioned there. The Immortality comes down on the side of Calamity. And Bob comes in for Budget Goblins, and Kushi Senpai catches Gentle Touch, and Crispin goes down. Only 1 support, and Budget Goblins are pushed into their spawn.
Yeah, I think Calamity's in a bad spot right now. You're gonna have Rally to help you out early on in the fight. You're gonna have Bob. You're gonna have Gravitic Flux, and you're building Blade. But Kushi Senpai back on Genji is dangerous to deal with, and you have to be wary about it.
Always is. They are very happy that there is no Ana on the other side, but even still, that Blade is a very dangerous ult. The bomb gets thrown out, doesn't catch anyone. A lot of ults getting thrown out here. Camo, the first, gets the pickup onto Crazy, but immediately the other Genji goes down. Gentle Touch goes down from Jigglyworm, and then Suru reses Kushi Senpai, and it just looks like that Calamity are not going to win this fight.
I mean, you could try as you want. You have Window to try and get some gauge. You have a Blade just to try and distract, but you're going up against the Blade. You're going up against an Enrage on Camo. You have to be wary. You have to get a pick somehow.
Blade comes in immediately. Camo goes down, but the Blade catches 3 for Kushi Senpai, and that Blade, as we said, Calamity just needs to find a way to counter that, as it has been tearing their team apart. And we see the stall picks coming out from Calamity. Jack going over to the ball there just to get the touch, and he does. So the overtime will be coming. The Blade coming out from Crazy, see if it gets anywhere near as much as Kushi Senpai's does. Gets 2, and the Shatter comes in, doesn't catch anything. The bomb comes in, doesn't catch anything, but Absolute Assault, Bob catches Jag and Crazy. And also the Res coming in through his... It seems like Res has just made him invulnerable almost, but he hasn't been punished for any of these Reses. He's been very safe with them. And 58 meters for Calamity.
0-1.
It was a valiant effort, and I think Calamity started strong. They used all the ults they possibly could going into that fight, and I think that you kind of have to be wary about, what you're going up against. I expect a dive comp coming in here from Budget Goblins. It seems like they're very strong on it, and it's very deadly. I mean, I don't know what you're going to counter with that. I think you kind of have to stay with your more brawly aspect and try and get a pick and, use your immortality field at the right time. Use your Brig when you can. Try and stun them off. Maybe use a McCree just to flashbang instead of maybe picking up that Ashe. But, I mean, it's tough, and I think you're right. Suru has been basically uncontested, resing anyone and everyone that they possibly can going into every one of these fights. I think that's a huge difference maker that you're seeing.
Yeah, because the res from that Mercy, it's basically an extra life every single fight if it's not contested. And so far it hasn't been contested on the other side. Or they've been, and credit where credit's due to Budget Goblins, they've definitely been protecting Suru when they go to res. And Suru's definitely been picking reses very well. But
yeah,
they need to make sure that when they get that pick, that they can keep that pick, basically.
Yeah, and you see Crazy going here on the Reaper just to try and, get down that Winston as soon as you possibly can. You see the Moira Mercy comp, so you're not going to have Nano Blade going to this fight, but it's definitely more of a dive composition going against more of a brawly composition as we had thought we would see.
It is, and damage boosted Blade is still a very, very powerful combination, and immediately a pick onto Budget Goblins, but it's immediately res from Witch Bay.
I mean, that Mercy is pivotal. If you don't get that Mercy down, they're getting free reses every fight. And I think that I don't know what they're not seeing at that, if they're more worried about Kushi Senpai or worried about Absolute Assault, but Witch Bay or Suru, whoever's on that Mercy, is definitely getting free value every fight.
Yeah. It's very interesting that both Witch Bay and Suru are able to play this Mercy at a level that they're comfortable playing it in scrims. Very, very powerful that whenever they have the thruster, and Crazy catches Camo, countering the hero that you're supposed to counter, but Absolute Assault gets Ares, and Jigglyworm goes very low, gets knocked out of the mech, and Budget Goblins are losing a lot of people there, a lot of very low, and the ult comes in from Crazy, catches Witch Bay, but it seems like that might have been a one fight for Calamity there, and it's a very powerful ult that Reaper, the Death Blossom there.
Yeah, it's it's definitely interesting. You're going to have both your tank ults going in the next fight. You're going to have both your support ults. So you have a lot of defensibility going in when budget goblins come in. You're going to have to deal with Enrage. You're going to have to deal with Bomb. So you have to deal with a lot. You're going to deal with Echo ult. So I don't know who Absolute Salt's going to have to pick, but it's anyone's guess what they could do.
And the Winston jumps in, gets a lot of value off of that Tesla cannon. The bomb comes in. Let's see who it catches. It does catch the Immortality Field from Krosky, who has to throw it down. And a lot of ults coming in. Jag uses his ult in a fight that he's down. He does get Kushi Senpai for it. But it does look like Budget Goblins are going to take this point. There's a little bit of a stall out, but with 4 minutes left, it's going to take a very, very good. It's going to take a lot of luck from Calamity. It's going to take a lot of luck from Calamity to catch this out, and immediately, Budget Goblins are pushing them so far. They're acting like they're going to go the entire map. They're pushing almost to the end of second point.
Yeah, Calamity needs to have Gentle Test needs to have a shadow of a lifetime just to push it back, just to even get to the touch. But I mean, it's not looking like it's gonna happen. It looks like they're gonna push up, and it looks like just Camo and Jiggly Worm are gonna hold them off, just to keep them from doing anything.
It is a pretty split team. The Shatter does come in, catches Kulishi Senpai on the McCree, and Gentle Touch does contest out, but they don't get to touch the point again. And Budget Goblins takes our second map.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much you can do there. I mean, you got pushback so far. They're all deadly. Another play of the game here by Kushi Senpai. Just an absolute monster on that Genji. I mean, you can't ask for much more when you're getting kill after kill after kill.
Yeah. Sex double kill there, getting a hand in every single elimination that happened there, and just so much damage coming in.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to counter, it's hard to go against. I mean, you hate to see it sometimes, but looking forward into it. I mean, Calamity has a lot of work to do, but I think going against a strong team like Budget Goblins, I think they're learning a lot. I think they're learning a lot about the meta game and kind of how to move forward into their next matches.
All right, so going into our halftime here, we have a very hard fought game, but Budget Goblins coming out of it 2-0. And it's going to be very, very hard for Calamity to come back and take this 3-2.
Yeah, it should be interesting. So I'm excited to see what that little halftime break does. You know, give them some time to calm down, catch their breath, and see what they can do moving forward.
Yeah, halftime's very important when it comes to sort of resetting on these teams and helping and trying to get a new strategy coming in. So we're going to go to halftime, and we will see you soon.
Ende.
All right, and we're back with Calamity and Budget Goblins, our little exhibition match here this Sunday for with with Budget Goblins 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of tough to see. We were talking about it a little bit over the break. Watching Budget Goblins versus Calamity. Calamity is a strong team. They're really good, but I think it's the minor details from Budget Goblins, just them being so much higher and being so much more experienced in that field, that they can exploit the little things a little bit better than Calamity is used to, and I think that's what's causing some things. So I think Calamity is learning a lot of experience here. They're getting a lot of details that they can move forward in their matches against teams that are a little bit more evenly matched SR-wise. So I think Calamity needs to take it with stride, stick with what they know is working, maybe try something new. Who knows? I'm not their coach, but I think it'll just be interesting to see what they move on going into these next couple of maps.
Yeah, especially just as you said, the minor things can be exploited so much. Even small little positioning mistakes, Budget Goblins is just able to exploit them and turn it into a one fight. And it is the small things that separate a diamond team and a masters team as you go up. It's a lot smaller than what separates like a gold team and a plat team. Both these teams are very cohesive. They're working together as a unit, but it's just these small little things that are costing Calamity a lot of these fights and a lot of these maps.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. Moving on to our next map, so we have an escort map into Junkertown as we get started here. It looks like both teams are ready to go on to this third map. So, I mean, looking forward to it. I expect Budget Goblins to play more of a divey style. That seems what their bread and butter is. Hold someone on point, pick everyone off as they run along. Do you expect Calamity to run a brawly bunker style? Do you expect them to try something else? Maybe run dive against dive? It seems like they're more comfortable with like that Rhine-Sig combo. So, what are your thoughts moving into this next map set?
I'm not sure about the tank line, but I do think that I'm interested to see which out of the teams runs a Widow, because Widowmaker has just always had a playground in Junkertown with these incredibly long sight lines, and
there is no obligation.
As I say that, we do see Absolute Salt on the side of Calamity, or on the side of Budget Goblins, going into going on the Widow, and that's a very, very hard matchup for Ash to win, for Ares there, because Widowmaker has a lot better range than Ash, and we also see the Doomfist, so it's a very divey comp from on the side of Budget Goblins.
It is very divey, but I think seeing the McCree with that flashbang should help with the Doom, especially when you see Crispin, who's been playing a solid break the whole map. I think they're ready to try and not get picked off nearly as easy, but with Absolute Salt on that Widow, I mean, you got to be wary from any direction, especially on Junkertown.
Yeah, I do think the bunker comp is usually thought as like a counter to the Widowmaker, but sightlines are often very, very powerful here. And Witch Bay and Wolf both get DMX on the side of Budget Goblin. And KBC and Crazy both find a fix of their own. And that is the first fight going squarely to Calamity.
Yeah, it's going squarely to Calamity, but you have to be very, very warisome as Kushi Senpai is behind you right now. Seemingly unnoticed on Doomfist.
He is flanking around.
He's very quiet. Crispin notices it.
Crispin notices
them. And now goes Kushi, but wow. That was a bold move by Kushi Senpai.
Cold pick coming in on both sides, but it does look, but Budget Goblins are getting the better of it. Oh, and a lot of them get pushed off the high ground. That was an amazing use of boosters there from Wolf, pushing that bunker comp off of the high ground and eliminating that advantage. It's going to be a very close fight. The Immortality Field comes out, and a lot of stuns coming in. Gentle Touch getting walled off, and both supports going down on the side of Calamity, and it does look like, even though Ares gets the pick, the Bob will stall out, because that will be .1 for Budget Goblins.
Yeah, and you can see that the Widow got changed off to a May from Absolute Salt and already has Blizzard. You're going to have, I mean, 5 out of your 6 ults on this side of Budget Goblins, so you have to be wary. You have 5 out of 6 ults on the side of Calamity, so it's going to be an ult fight going into this next one. I expect something crazy to happen.
But Woof diving in onto Krosky. Krosky is able to jump away. The bomb comes in, and oh, the lift just comes in a little too early. That might have been an amazing combination there. But lift coming in on both sides. A High Noon also coming in on the side Crazy. Kushi Senpai very low. Crazy catches Witch Bay, and Calamity catching some people, but as soon as I say that, Crispin and Crazy both fall on the side, and this is a very scrappy fight here. With it seems like both teams trading picks, but Calamity comes out on top.
Yeah, Calamity right there did a good job. I mean, the hard part, the thing you have to focus on right there is that Budget Goblins, no matter the fight, was still pushing forward. They gained a lot of ground. They're almost to the next point already. So you have to be wary. You're going to have Doomfist ult coming in by Kushi Senpai. You're going to have an early rally. But you still have Window, and you still have Bob, and you have Bongo. So there's a lot of combos you can do.
Oh, the Bongo in the window. That's a lot of damage coming in for Calamity there. And it does catch Suru from it. The wall does come in, but it's too late for Suru there. Meteor Strike comes in, it's looking to find someone. Crazy does have to drop down to avoid it. And he's going to be hunted for it, and Gentle Touch is a little bit alone there. Hooked up with him. It's a May. Getting D-Mech down there. Wolf getting D-Mech there, and both the May and the Diva do get D-Mech, and that is for Calamity. That's a good fight for Calamity. They use their ults, but they get a bunch of ult charge back, and they have a good amount of ults coming into this next fight.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot here. The use of the Gravitic Flux by Kemo is going to be very interesting. Probably try to pull him off of the high ground. Ares is definitely becoming a stronger shot with that combo from all the halts with Gentle Touch, so you have to be wary of that. That combo is deadly, especially with Dynamite, and Ares seems to be picking up a lot of fights.
Dual Gravitic Fluxes coming out there. Gentle Touch does fortify out of it, and a lot of picks coming in on the side of Calamity, and they're holding really well here.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. Kushi Senpai switched off to the Hanzo, and I mean, the use of the Dragon is going to be interesting. You're kind of switching back off to a dive with the use of Diva and the use of Winston. Camo seems to be a lot more comfortable on the Winston. Try and cause a lot more havoc, get into that back line, try and get rid of that.
Yeah. The bomb comes in right on the high ground there, but it's shielded by Gentle Touch. The Immortality Field does come out there, which is unfortunate because Gentle Touch did have that with the shield. They do immediately D-Mech Whoop though, and load the tanks down to the side of Budget Goblins, and a lot of good holds there. The rally comes in on the nanoed brig, and the High Noon catches Suru, and Bay also goes down by Crazy, and that was a very good fight, especially at the end there, taking down a nanoed rallying Brigitte. Or the raid boss, yeah.
The raid boss Brigitte, I mean, it's going to be difficult. You're going to have window, you're holding high ground, so you have a good advantage. You're going to have rally to try and defend against some things, but you got to be wary.
Then just try and divide them. And Krosky seems to have a bit of an itchy trigger finger with his immortality field. Seems to throw it down at the sight of any ultimate. And like we did say, it's those small little things like that immortality field coming out maybe when it didn't need to that can turn a fight.
Yeah,
has such value with his immortality field. It can completely negate ultimates, even those that are placed really well.
I think Krosky has the right idea using the immortality field, but I think that the placement can be off sometimes. Maybe a little bit too soon. I mean, they're still strong in the bat. They're keeping everyone alive. They took a lot of time down. Moving to this next point, I mean, a minute and a half is not a lot of time to move around this bend.
Yeah, this is a very powerful point because this is where the spawns start really coming in for the defense here. They basically have their spawns right at the end of the map here. So once this cart gets to the end of the map, then Calamity spawns are almost instantaneous, and they need an almost perfect fight to take the cart. But the Goblin's getting a bunch of picks here with the nanoed Bob.
Not something you see every day, but I mean,
of course, but it worked. The dragon comes in to try and stall the spawns there, and it is going to catch two. That was incredible from Kawushi Senpai, catching them in their spawn in this hallway that they have no place to maneuver around it.
Yeah, I mean, Budget Goblin's just holding them back, doing everything they possibly can, trying to keep them off point.
The clock comes in, catches a few, but he gets stunned out of it, or killed out of it by Absolute Salt. And Absolute Salt, that was a very good play there. And the cart 2.5 meters away. High Noon comes in, but he immediately gets shot by Kushi Senpai, canceling that ult. And KBC comes in on the Reinhardt, D-Mech woof, but he is the last person on the cart, gets anti-nated, and this cart is going to push all the way. 3 and 2.3 seconds on the side of Budget Goblin. That's very important, finishing even with just a little bit of time left for in case Calamity finishes.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see. I think that you saw right there that Calamity got a lot of points, especially going into that second point. They were very strong. They held a lot of the high ground. They misjudged a couple things just to, cause them to lose a couple fights, but I expect Calamity to come out strong. I mean, I think Budget Goblins is going to hold them. They're probably going to stick to that dive comp. They might try to do something with a bunker. It looks like Absolute Salt is an absolute dead shot on Ashe, so I expect that to happen. Maybe they'll bring out a Widowmaker just to try something new. But, I mean, if you're Calamity, you got to try and just brawl into him and push him off as much as you possibly can. Keep him off the high ground. Get a couple picks here and there. Don't let Kushi Senpai or Salt pick you off. And definitely don't let Suru get any alt charge and try and get anything happen with that nano.
We see this Sombra coming out from Crazy, though. It's very interesting.
Crazy doesn't know exactly what they want to do right now. I think the Sombra could be a good pick, trying to distract him, trying to get a couple good hacks, especially maybe on that Orisa, maybe on the D.Va, just to try and get them away. I think it could be useful if done right.
Especially against the Doomfist. Doomfist is very, very powerless if he dives in and doesn't have any visibilities. But Absolute Salt, very scary on the Widowmaker. And immediately we see Crazy and Witchbay dueling out. And Suru goes down, as well as Ares getting 2 picks there. And immediately, Calamity are pushing really well here. And we see immediate switches from Budget Goblin. We see Doomfist, the Torbjorn coming in. We see a lot of different stuff. And Dagger onto Whoop was very, very long on that. So that's a lot of distance that they're going to get. We see Camo. They're kind of switching to a kind of stall comp here, with the Camo going over to the ball. He's immediately in the back line and gets deleted for it.
Yeah, I don't exactly know. I mean, you can stall here, but I think it's not. I mean, you can take a lot of time off the clock, but you're starting to stagger quite a bit, and you're just giving ult charge to the side of Calamity if you're not going to make any picks happen. I mean, you're going to have almost all 6 ults going to this, and you're going to only have Nano going into this next fight. You could maybe Nano the Brig to give him rally, but I mean, switching up people that fast, you don't keep any Nano, and you're going to have 6 ults to 1 or 2. So I mean, Calamity's in a good spot going to this next fight. If they can get a couple picks early on, trying to get rid of people, they can push it pretty far, pretty quick.
Calamity is in a very good position to start snowballing here. EMP, window, all 6 ultimates going to come online very soon for them. And they find Woof without even using any of their ultimates there. And the Nano comes in onto the Torbjorn, and they rally as well, but the hack comes in, and 2 people get lifted off with a Gritter Flux. The Bob does find Witch Bay, and a couple of pigs are coming in for Calamity, and Calamity will take a lead in this fight with a hack on the D.Va as well, and Suru in a very strange position there, getting stalled out by Calamity. Very good choice by them to stall out a very important hero on the Ana. There's Suru.
Yeah, I think if you're Budget Goblins, you have to be worried that there is a Brig. There is a... I mean, there... Oh. Okay.
Finding KBC there with that, and the tanks on Budget Goblins finding a lot of picks there.
Budget Goblin's finding a lot of picks there, and I think if you have to be very wary playing ball on that Kimbo, because you have a Brig, you have a Sombra to try and counter it, and you have, I mean, Crazy on that Sombra has been pivotal, you know, always getting the D.Va, trying to make things not happen, trying to get down the Ana so she can't use any of her abilities. I mean, you're going to have, I mean, Torb, ult, you're going to have McCree going to the next fight, so there's a lot of good high-power ults. You're going to have early, probably a rally too, to keep everyone alive. You really only have the EMP is going to be huge if done correctly. I think that's what Crazy is trying to get here, trying to get around, trying to engage with the EMP and just try and snowball from there.
Yeah, Crazy, that EMP from Crazy is always a big ultimate if it's done. Immediately the hack comes in, catches Witch Bay, but immediately they throw out the Molten Core, and a couple of picks coming in, but Kristen goes down, and very scrappy fight on the point here. A lot of picks are coming in from both sides, but Ares finds 3.
Yeah, Ares on that Ashe is nuts. They've been a force to be reckoned with, using that dynamite and just being great with their shot.
Yeah, their shots have been incredible. And immediately here, I noticed that Camo does get far spawned here and switches to the Rhine. So a little bit of aggression here from Calamity could force them out of this nice position that they're in on that corner.
I mean, we talked about last minute that those spawn points are huge, and I think you have to be worried about it. I mean, Calamity is just pushing as much as they possibly can.
Comes in with the flanking Reinhardt charge, pinning Crazy from behind.
Yeah, I mean, Budget Goblins is getting pushed back here. They have to try and do something crazy. Kuishi Senpai is on the high ground, really not getting contest all that much. Just kind of getting free damage. I expect an ult to come out very soon.
And there it comes out in this fight with not a lot of people in his field of view there. So, does not catch anything. So I'm a little late, but there's still a lot of ultimates on the side of Budget Goblins, but a lot of ultimates on the side of Calamity. That's 6 ultimates for them.
Yeah, and I think you have to, I mean, if Reinhardt can pin them, which I expect something crazy to happen here with this Shatter.
Ammo on the flank. Shatter finds 3. And the bomb comes out. Catches 2. Both Gentle Touch and Crazy caught out. But the rally from Crispin. Goes down. Does find Witch Bay. So they're not out of it yet, but Kroski goes down and they're still fighting out in this fight here, and a bunch of Goblins are losing some people. Gonna be very, very close here. KBC finding Wolf. And immediately the Reinhardt caught out. The Ana getting lifted up, gonna go down there. Camo, also very low. Does have the Brigade to pocket him, and KBC gets charged out. But the Reinhardt gets hacked, and he goes down just like that without his shield to protect him. And Kushi Senpai also gets staggered out, but Wolf finds Kroski as they're flanking around into this little tunnel. This has been an incredible... Oh, an Absolute Salt dies before using Blizzard.
Hello.
In the ultimate animation, which means he does lose it, and Wolf gets sniped out by Ares. Again, these incredible shots coming out from Ares, just taking down any of these targets who've lost any amount of health on their 200 HP.
Yeah, I mean, Ares has been crazy. That kill on that May has been huge. The hack was big.
Ult coming in. Bob doing a lot of work there. Wolf going down, and I don't know if anyone's even going to be able to touch, and that's a minute 48 on the side of Calamity versus only a minute on the side of Budget Goblins. This is going to be close.
Yeah, I mean, I expected Calamity to have a close match. I didn't think that they were going to be nearly as close as they are, but I think that, I mean, if you're Budget Goblins, you have to be worried about that Sombra now. Now that Crazy's shown it, I mean, that Sombra was pivotal in all those fights. Got everyone hacked, did exactly what they needed to do. Huge EMPs, let everyone clean up the rest of it. I mean, I think that they kind of found a way to counter what Budget Goblins was doing.
Yeah. But going into this, we have very short time breaks for both sides here, both under 2 minutes, and this map is going to be decided by a couple of fights here. And we do have the Bastion in spawn for Budget Goblins here.
Incoming in 30 seconds.
I mean,
and it's always a very if you catch your opponent by surprise, you can always it's a very powerful strategy if you catch your opponent by surprise if they're not expecting the Bastion.
If you can get a couple early picks on his Bastion, you can sit on the point and just ride your way into the next one. I don't know if Absolute Salt's gonna stick with it. It seems like it. So they're gonna have to. They're gonna hack. I mean, Crazy's gonna have to hack Bastion as soon as they possibly can.
Yeah. Yeah, Bastion very powerful, especially in the lower ranks, because a very easy way to counter a Bastion is with team coordination and being together, and that's there's usually a lot of coordination in spades in the higher ranks. But we see immediately Calamity is using this natural cover until they're ready to take the fight, push in onto Absolute Salt, who does reposition here. Very smart. The hack comes in on the camo, but Crazy goes down. That was a huge haul, but Senpai KBC found Woof. Very brawly comp, which is going to favor Budget Goblins. Oddly enough, in this sort of fight, is going to favor Budget Goblins with the Reinhardt. The Bob comes out into the backline, manages to get some damage in. No picks coming out from it, but immediately Sebastian will turn around, focus it. They get halted, a lot of windows coming in. Bushi Senpai gets lifted, a lot of damage coming in on the Budget Goblins. And it looks like they're going to win this fight. No one else is going to touch, and 43 meters for Budget Goblins. Calamity has their win condition, and it's not that far.
Yeah, I mean, you get a little bit more time. You get a little bit something. I mean, I appreciate the Bastion just to try and get as far as you possibly can. It worked. They try to protect the Bastion comp. I understand it. You have to do what you got to do, but you only have a minute 48. And while 43 meters doesn't seem like a lot, when Budget Goblins wants to turn it up, they can. So I expect a huge fight early on. I expect Budget Goblins to try and do something crazy here. Maybe stick with a dive, maybe do something weird, but I mean, you have to be wary. It's not a long distance, and it's not a lot of time to get very far.
Yeah, but the thing is that where this yellow square is, this big rectangle is, where they have to get to, it's right in this very, very tight choke here, which is very advantageous for a Reinhardt or for any sort of shield tank to stand in and get a lot of value from. And oddly enough, we're seeing the Bastion come out again from Absolute Salt.
I mean, if it works, it works, I guess. They're trying to just hold them back as far as they possibly can. You're seeing that it's Sigarissa, you see Ares on the Ashe, nothing crazy. I mean, Budget Goblins is pushing very close up here.
I mean, you say nothing crazy, but then again, this comes out and immediately, very smart rotation from Calamity. I think they must have spotted out the strategy that's coming in, and immediately Witchbait gets caught out of position. They have to reset, and Calamity are finding these picks.
Yeah, which is not good on the side of Budget Goblins, because that's a long way back to point, especially for how far up you were.
Long way back from spawn. Camo finds Crispin, but these late picks, they get 3 people on cart, and it goes the fastest it can go, and immediately they're getting very, very close. They're going to need people to just stall out, like Witchbait and Kushi Senpai on the Tracer, but they're going to immediately fall with all this, with the 6 people focusing on them. 2, 1, and that is a 1 map for Calamity. We have 2-1. This could be the start of the reverse sweep from Calamity there. I don't want to cast a curse it, but it was a pretty solid map from Calamity there.
Yeah, that was very well played by Calamity. They really knew what they had to do. I appreciate the fact that Budget Goblins tried something different. It could have been very deadly if they got a couple early picks, but it seemed like Calamity knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah, Bastion comps are very, very susceptible to. They're very susceptible to start a snowball.
Just doing my part.
And Crispin, I do want to point out, getting 77% kill participation there. That is a very good performance from that Brigitte, being involved in 77% of the eliminations.
That is huge. I mean, 77% is nothing to scoff at.
Not at all. It's very, very important in terms of proccing that rally and proccing that inspire passive that Brigitte has, which is where she gets a lot of her healing from.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be interesting going on to this next fight, seeing the Hanamura. I mean, it favors a lot of dive. It favors kind of a, brawly composition. So I think that it's going to be kind of an interesting match moving forward.
Yeah. So Hanamura is a map that you see a lot of bunker comp in. There's a very aggressive choke in a lot of 2CP maps and a lot of these assault maps. There's a very tight choke that the attackers have to go through on first point, and it's a very tough push to go through. So having a bunker comp on defense, you have you just shoot at people when they approach, and it's very hard for them to get through that choke because they're taking so much poke, so much spam as they approach. They don't have the health or the resources or the healing that they would have because there was so much poke on them coming through.
Yeah, I think you have to be very worrisome about it, and I think that Budget Goblins losing a map is a testament to Calamity. They found something that works. I think you're going to see a lot more of that Sombra. I think that was really the kind of the catalyst moving forward into these fights. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting, especially on Hanamura. There should be a lot of interesting things moving forward. Seems like the teams are all figured out, so we're going to start this up now. But I mean, I expect a lot of dive. I expect a lot of brawl. You could sit here and bunker with the double meta, but maybe there's going to be a Symmetra coming out to kind of teleport onto the point. So I'm excited to see maybe they try something completely different than what we've already seen.
Yeah, 2CP is known for having a lot of really interesting Symmetra strats, because if you get behind the defenders, you have an incredible advantage based on just how these maps are played and how these maps are structured out. The defenders do have a bit of an advantage, and they get to pick where the fights are. But if you get behind them, you now pick where you're fighting.
Yeah, which you don't want that at all.
You do not want. You want to have that advantage, and you want to be able to say where you want to fight. And
Attackers incoming in 30
some interesting picks coming out on the side of
Budget Goblins.
a bunch of goblins there. We have the Hog and the Wrecking Ball, the Genji and the Pharah, the Moira and the Ana. The very interesting combination of heroes, and I'm interested to see how it turns out.
I'll switch to Symmetra, Zen. Okay, so it looks kind of a little bit better now, a little bit brawlier, a little bit try and get there fast, but
Brawlier.
what a weird combo still. You kind of go and get to more of the meta, the Sigma Orisa with the, Sombra. I think they found their stride on the side of Calamity using that combo.
Yeah. Teleport comes in, and it is very important in a bunker comp. If you get into a brawl, you're not as strong, but Wolf somehow falls off. I think he might have fallen off the back of the map, and Budget Goblin does look like they will take. They might take this point. The pick does come into the through, but so it's a very tight fight on point. But Ares coming in clutch for Calamity. Oh, but the charge coming in from Wolf. These spawn distances are killer on the start here. As even though there was a lot of it was pretty even. Budget Goblin just has closer spawn distance, and especially with the Symmetra teleporter, that close spawn distance gets even closer.
Yeah, and I think the thing you have to see right there that we saw but we didn't talk about enough is that Suru got 2 picks on that point, which kind of changed the tide of the fight. So you're gonna have a lot of ult charge, you're gonna have that transcendence, you're gonna have whole hog, you're gonna have blade, you're gonna have nano. I expect the nano blade to come in pretty early on just to put pressure. They don't have anything really to defend against it.
Early pickoff from Jigglyworm. The wall comes in, and immediately a very big very big Bionade on Budget Goblin's side, and they haven't even used the blade yet. As Bushi Senpai is so low here, but he does get healed up. He blades onto KBC, catching KBC, and Bushi Senpai does go down though. The Transcendence coming in a little too late there, but that's what I said about these spawn distances in Assault map. The second point on Objective B, these spawns are instantaneous, so you need just almost a perfect fight to win it out. And even though 55% coming in for Budget Goblins, they do not capture the point.
I think that was still a good fight by Budget Goblins. You still have 4.5 minutes of time. You're building ults. You're going to have Shatter going into it. You're building up Symmetra's wall. You only really have to worry about Window, and you have to worry about Molten Core. But I think that Budget Goblins just really want to get rid of a lot of ults really fast and try to get things down so that they can build ults faster.
There's not a lot of ults on this side. There's only the Window, but Window is a very influential ultimate, and it can turn the tides of a fight. Oh, that was a really good hook from Camo there, but does not find the kill. Oh, Jigglyworm does find KBC. Jigglyworm, they've been so good with finding these picks there with the Symmetra. Camo going onto the point to force positioning, and a lot of ults coming in. But again, an even fight is a win for Budget Goblin, for Calamity, I'm sorry, because they have these close spawns, and the ults come out, and it does look like Budget Goblins will win it out. But these spawns come in very quickly. The stalls come out with 319 for Budget Goblins.
Yeah, I think Budget Goblins really just won the battle of attrition there. I think that Symmetra was a smart play, setting the teleport up behind people, not letting him really focus on it, just throwing down your turrets just to get him to behind people. It's really kind of what caused KBC to go down there. I expect a lot of the same coming in from Calamity. It's kind of their same bread and butter picks. Try and get crazy to use that Sombra to get a couple good hacks moving forward. I don't exactly know what I expect to come from the side of Budget Goblins, they kind of throw in a little bit of everything. Maybe they'll throw in a Torb, maybe they'll throw in a Symmetra, maybe they'll sit on point with a Bastion. It's really anyone's guess what they're going to try and do here. Maybe they'll do something cheese, maybe they'll try and stick to a meta. I mean, Budget Goblins kind of has everything they want.
Yeah, and like we said, Budget Goblins not really doing a little bit of a meta picks, but Doomfist Junkrat, very situational picks there. Junkrat never really been meta, but very interesting to see what they're going to do with it here.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of just have a lot of high damage output. You have a good amount of healing, but I mean, using those Discord Orbs by Zen should be interesting to see. I'm expecting them to use it to be a very good, utilization tool. You have the Pharmacy on the side of Calamity, so I expect them to try and use that to their advantage as much as they possibly can. But I mean, it'll be interesting to see how Goblins uses this, set that they've brought out.
Yeah, and the Pharmacy is a very situational pick, but since Budget Goblins don't really have a hit scan, they have the Doomfist, they have the Junkrat, and neither of those are very good in the air. It's a very powerful pick, and that can get just a lot of high damage.
Yeah, you have to be very so if you don't have a hit scan, that fire can do a lot of damage if you can't get rid of them early or try and get rid of everyone else.
But a lot of the ways to get rid of a Pharmacy is either take them down in the air or take the 4v6 on the ground, because they're not easily contributing to the ground game as well as they could have. But it does look like Budget Goblins do a little bit are going to take this fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see here that fire kind of did make an impact, but they kind of played the 4v6 and got him down. It seems like Camo is taking the responsibility of dealing with that fire going into these fights. And I mean, Wolf was doing a lot of damage, and they already have ult, you already have Valkyrie, you're building up to Enrage. I mean, I don't know what you can do. You have, Barrage going to this next fight, but if it can't be utilized, you have to find the right spot for it.
Oh, that's a huge pick from Ares onto Suru. And the window comes out, and even more pressure coming in for the Doomfist and Kushi Senpai. Jigglyworm finds Kroski, which is an incredible pick, because that means no res, which way reses Suru for it. Important pick off from Ares onto Witchbay, and 2 picks on the side of Calamity, but all Budget Goblins will win that fight.
Yeah, and now that you have Suru with Transcendence, it's going to be able to easily counter that Barrage if they stay alive long enough to get it through there. I mean, it's weird. It seems like fights are going back and forth, but it seems like Budget Goblins knows how to battle when they're down a lot better when it comes to Calamity, and that could just come with experience. So, but Calamity's fighting, they're getting a lot of good picks from them. They just need to keep the pressure moving.
They got a lot of big picks, and Ares again finding huge picks. The Tyra coming in, but already 3 picks on the side. Ares does go down, the res does come in, so immediately this fight, not as impossible as it seems for Budget Goblins. But the res comes in, and oh, woof! Finding Kroski during the res. An important pick, an important cancellation of the abilities that we were talking about with Numbani, that canceling that res, very important when playing against Mercy. Here's he finds Jigglyworm.
Yeah.
Right. Here it comes down, the Mercy gets the res again. Witchbait again, just getting these reses, what seems like for free almost.
Yeah, I don't know what Calamity's doing if they just don't realize what's going on. But, I mean, Camo switching to the ball is an interesting idea. Definitely use the pressure on him off. You still have Transcendence on the side of Suru. You have Shatter to deal with now. You don't really have anything to block it. And you're going to have, Zarya ult. So, but they're pushing him back way off a point.
Yeah, a lot of there, but they do get caught out. Witchbait does get caught out by Crazy, and Crazy finds 2 on this Pharah with these Pharah spawns that come with defending Hanamura point A. They're not going to be back in the fight for a while now. Bob goes on to point and starts to cap. So now Budget Goblins either needs to get on the point to stop the cap, and they do just before 33. That is such a good play, but Gentle Touch finds Fushi Senpai, and it looks like with the numbers that they have, but the grab comes in and catches a lot of them, but the pick still still flow in for Calamity, and it's very unfortunate that that grab came in. Didn't really find a lot of follow-up, and because it was in overtime, it didn't even stall out the point.
Yeah, and I'm surprised at this point that Kushi Senpai or Jigglyworm haven't switched off to deal with that Pharah a little bit more effectively. It seems like Crazy's just getting a lot of...
Could be very big and finds two. Crazy and Gentle Touch both finding. And immediately you see, once they find those two picks, they push in very, very hard on the side of Budget Goblins and try and deny the res. In essence, they actively try and deny the res by pushing over where those picks that they found were.
They are getting on my nerves.
And Jigglyworm finds Crazy. Not a pick you'd expect to find a Junkrat getting the pick on Pharah, but somehow Jigglyworm does it.
Yeah, and I think if you're Calamity, you're feeling good right now. If you're Budget Goblins, you have to worry about Barrage. You have to worry about the Barrage grab combo. I mean, you have a lot of ults. You have Window, you have Bob, you have Shadow. There's a lot of high-powered ults coming into this next fight.
Bob goes in and immediately forces them to push back on the point to stop the capture. The Camo finds the pick onto Crispin with the mines. That's a very important pick for Budget Goblins. Whisper goes down. Both main supports going down. KBC. But again, these important... The spawns on Hanamura Point B are such that the defenders have so much of an advantage because of how close their spawns are. And another fight for Budget Goblins.
Yeah, Budget Goblins really showed up right there, and I think going to this next fight, you're going to have to expect the grab Barrage fight. They're going to have to use it to try and get anything down with those spawns. You have to kill everyone really fast to try and get any amount of ticks down, especially expecting a Shatter. You don't have really anything to block a Shatter, so you have to either use it or get killed in this instance. So I think Calamity has a huge advantage going into this next fight.
That is the weakness there, but immediately the Pharmacy going down, and there's not a lot of time for Calamity there. They still have to wait there, but they're getting pushed in really aggressively. Jigglyworm tries to go in for an aggressive tire, but he gives his life for it and does not find any picks.
Yeah, but Witchbay getting another res, just getting the free reses, and it seems like every single fight, there's nothing that's getting countered against it.
Yeah.
I think Budget Goblins is playing the smart thing here. They're just pushing him back, keeping. I mean, they may be having ult disadvantage, but they're keeping him away from everything. They're distracting him. They're trying to take it down to overtime just to make life a lot harder for him moving forward.
Because, I mean, they're at an ult disadvantage, but if they're never grouped up, they can't really use their ult as smart as they can. And Woof uses the ult that goes down for it just to try and stall them out, just to try and make sure that they can't get onto the point. So much so that Krosky is trying to go to the point and touch for them, and Krosky does do that and get the ult. Grab comes in big, and they do try and use the barrage on it, but Kushi Senpai is kind of crazy while he's ulting, and it just looks like cleanup, and that is GG for Budget Goblins, 3-1.
Yeah, I mean, Budget Goblins just played it smart there. They got a lot of picks early on. They really staggered them. I think watching it, Ares was really strong, but I think that it was surprising to see that they didn't even need a hit scan. They took care of Crazy. They had all the faith in the world. So it really showed the technical ability that Budget Goblins had going up against the Pharmacy comp.
It really did. And now that the match is over, 3-1 for Budget Goblins, it is time for our player of the match. And I think that it's a pretty obvious pick, but I would have to go with Kurushi Senpai, just with how dominant he was, with how dominant they were the first two maps. It's on that Genji and on all of the roles that they played, just an incredible amount of force that got put onto Calamity there. Swung the fight in Budget Goblin's favor.
Yeah, Kurushi Senpai was really a force to be reckoned with there, but I think my player of the match, I think that we talked about them a lot, is Witchbay. I think Witchbay getting all of the reses, Witchbay and Suru, I mean, they all played, they either played Mercy, but I think that was, I mean, whoever played Mercy had the strongest advantage. It was constantly resing someone for free, and that's probably more a testament to the team as a whole, but I think getting those reses as quickly as they possibly can, getting the right person resed was huge in a lot of those fights, keeping the pressure on to Calamity from the side of Budget Goblins.
Yeah, it's a great sign of teamwork there. having the Mercy being able to pick reses that are safe or coverable by their team. And on Budget Goblin, Thuru, and Witchblade both found very solid and very good reses that their team could support them on, or that were just completely behind cover and Calamity could not find. So an incredible job by Budget Goblins, and Calamity also doing an incredible job being being an entire rank lower than them and taking a map off of Budget Goblins. It is not a horrible loss for Calamity there. They should absolutely hold their head up high going forward, that they were able to take even a map off of a team that is a rank higher than them.
Yeah, I mean, it was well fought by Calamity. I think that they found to their stride. I think they found some things that worked for them. I think they figured some things out that they need to work on going into the next week, moving into matches of more evenly skill. But taking a map from a team that's a higher rank than you is nothing to scoff at, and I think it really shows that Calamity has what it takes to move forward a long ways in the stages here in OCC.
Especially going into because there were scheduling issues with their opponent that was supposed to happen tonight, which resulted in this exhibition match. Calamity does get the win from that match, so they are currently sitting at 2-0, and it looks like going forward, Calamity is a runaway train, and I'm not sure if anyone else in the Blackwatch division can stop them. But we will see going into the matches in this next week.
Yeah, you're going to have to watch this map and see what they struggled with to try and pinpoint it. This is a huge, valuable match to watch and look forward to. So if you can figure out some things from this, if you're their opponents moving forward, I mean, obviously they're going to have to work on some things and they know their weaknesses, but if you can figure out what Budget Goblins did to succeed in a lot of those fights, I think you have a better advantage moving forward against Calamity.
It's going to be really interesting watching this Blackwatch division, watching our highest division right now. And an amazing job by both teams, and thank you guys so much for watching. So our next match is tomorrow, same time, same channel. So see you guys then.
Yeah, see you guys then. It was a pleasure having you. I'm excited to see it. Look forward to more scrims throughout the season. I expect a lot of competition moving forward.
I do as well.